There are a lot of days as a Christian mom when we just look around and wonder, why is this so hard? We got married because we're in love and we're supposed to be happy, and we have kids and they are wonderful and delightful, and yet there are so many days when life, family life, those family relationships, they just don't quite feel like they are on track. And if you might be having one of those days, or one of those weeks, or months, or a whole big season of life where it's just feeling a lot harder than it should, well, my friend, today's conversation is for you. Because the reality of Christian marriage and Christian motherhood is that it can be so beautiful and so filled with joy and with peace. And that is the goal. That is God's goal and His plan for your family life. That is my goal here with this podcast. But it is also really hard. It takes work, it takes effort, and it is so worth the effort. It is worth every ounce of energy and emotion and time and effort that we put into it. And so today I am hoping to just have a few minutes together to encourage one another about why marriage and motherhood is so hard, and yet why it matters so much. So I'm glad you're here, friend, for this conversation. This is the Love Your People Well podcast. And this podcast is all about helping you deepen those family relationships so you can enjoy family life. You can have that happiness and that peace and that purpose, even on those really rough days when you're wondering, why is this so difficult? It is my goal here on the podcast that every episode will offer you practical tips, but also biblical encouragement for this journey of Christian family life. My name is Jess. I have been a marriage and family therapist for over 10 years, and I'm licensed in the state of South Carolina to do that very thing. Of course, this podcast is not therapy, but I love sitting down with women and their families and just watching relationships heal and grow and deepen. And that is such an honor in my professional life. And I love that in my own life. I'm a pastor's wife over 10 years now. We've got 4 little ones at home. And pretty much every day, there's at least a moment when I'm looking around my own house, probably thinking, oh gosh, there's a lot of cleaning up to do, but also thinking, this is so meaningful and so important to me, and yet it is hard work. So let's talk together today about why it is a struggle and why it matters so much. And as we start this conversation, I'll remind you that you can grab a lot of really helpful resources over at loveyourpeoplewell.com. There is a whole page of freebies there, some journaling prompts to help you think about family life. There's a conflict resolution cheat sheet. There's a Bible and prayer guide to get you started in that daily time with the Lord. There is a lot of good stuff there, freebies, devotionals, plenty of great stuff at loveyourpeoplewell.com. And everything you'll find on there is exactly what I just mentioned. My goal is it is practical, it is biblical, it is encouraging, and it is helpful. And I think it is helpful for us to start our conversation today acknowledging some of the reasons why marriage and motherhood is a struggle. Why does it take so much more work than we think it's going to take? And one of those reasons is just the reality of sin, one of the natural consequences, the kind of outplaying of sin way back when in the Garden of Eden, all the way up to today in your own home, your own living room. We can expect that relationships are not quite what they were intended to be, and we can expect that our sin will impact the people who are most important to us, and their sin will impact us. And I think we like to overlook this very important verse in Scripture, but right before he's going to the cross, in the Gospel of John, chapter 16, Jesus is telling his disciples, in this world, you will have trouble. He in no way promises us that because we are following him, everything will be easy, that every day with your husband will be like a date night or your honeymoon. Every trip is just going to be amazing and wonderful, and every moment with your kids is going to be like that first time that you held them in your arms. We have so many precious, wonderful moments, but we also live in a world of trouble. And another reality of why this is such a struggle, above and beyond that natural playing out of sin and how our own sin is a part of our family relationships, the gospel calls us to sacrifice for one another. And if you want a happy marriage and you want peaceful, purposeful relationships with your kids, it's going to take daily sacrifice. I mean, moms are not known for getting a ton of sleep and being able to sit quietly and drink their hot coffee in the morning. That's just not real life, especially during those years when our kids are young and they are so needy. And we can absolutely enjoy healthy, happy, holy family relationships. But that comes with sacrifice. We sacrifice our desires and our wants and our preferences, and that's not fun, but it is a part of a good relationship. And, I'm going to mention one other big reason why I think we struggle in our marriages and in our motherhood, even though it is so important to us, and even though we probably do find a lot of joy and purpose and peace in our family life. But another thing that gets in the way very, very often is that it is really difficult to control our big, hard emotions when we are around the same people every day. Your family sees you at your best and at your worst. And you see them at their best and at their worst. And that means that we're going to have the ups and the downs. And you don't always get to, take that little break to do some deep breathing or to go on a run or to do those coping skills that are so helpful. But if you don't get the time away from the person or the situation to calm down, it's gonna be really hard. And I know that these are not the only reasons why marriage and motherhood can be so difficult, but they really do cover a lot. If we sit down and look at today or this week, why am I struggling? Why am I feeling so overwhelmed or stressed out or anxious or just exhausted? A lot of that is going to either come back to troubles in life, which are just going to be a part of it, or it comes back to some sort of sin or just, and maybe that's an internal thing, some greed or selfishness or pride or jealousy, or maybe it's words or actions where someone hurt someone else, or it comes back to our emotions and just not always getting a break, not always being able to get enough time apart to calm down or process what happened or think it through and come back in a mature and logical way. We do not always have those luxuries. But friend, I do not want us to sit in this place of despair, in this place of trouble and trial and difficulty. We have to stand firm on our faith And part of our faith is knowing that the good plans God has for us are actually good. The relationships that He has given us, our marriages, our relationship with our kids, our family life, these things are good and they are so worth the effort. So let's take a few minutes and also talk about that. Talk about why these relationships matter so much and how we can approach them in a way that is maximizing our happiness and our joy and our peace in everyday life. Let me interrupt our conversation just for a moment to invite you to join me over in the Faith Fiver Club. This is our private community where every month we go deep into a different topic of family life. With a private podcast, a personal workbook, month by month, encouragement and resources. Join us at patreon.com/loveyourpeoplewell. All right, let's get back to our conversation. Now again, there are going to be a lot of reasons why it is that marriage and motherhood and the effort we put into them really do matter. And just like we started by talking about sin, we need to start by talking about God's biblical good plan in creation. Because God created work before the fall. Adam and Eve had a task. They had to care for the garden. They were to multiply. Marriage and family life was a part of God's good creation even before sin entered the world. So we know that it is good, and we know that it is holy and wonderful, and that there are ways to approach these relationships that maximize our intimacy with God and our enjoyment of one another. And then kind of zoom forward to today, like maybe that's the big picture, like looking at the whole forest. This is good, this is true. But if we zoom in on the individual tree of today, the reality is that our family life has the greatest impact on our daily happiness and joy. Or maybe our lack of happiness and joy. If things are good in your marriage, you're going to have a much better day. If things are good with your kids, you're going to smile a lot more. You're going to find peace and you're going to find purpose because these people matter. When things are going well, we can pretty much always look in at our family relationships and see that things are going okay. We're on the right track. And when we're struggling in any area of life, part of that is usually going to be linked back with our family. If you want to be happy, it's worth putting the effort into building up and maintaining happy relationships with the people who matter most to you. And we all know that that is our family. But there's more, my friend. There are more reasons why it actually does benefit you and bless God's entire kingdom for you to put that effort into your marriage and your motherhood. Because part of it too is that marriage reflects Christ's relationship with the church. And as we follow Jesus, one of our biggest callings in that is the Great Commission to go out and teach people about Him and help them to obey and to be baptized and to be disciples of Christ. And our kids are our first priority and opportunity to make that happen. When we think about marriage and when we think about motherhood, those are the best and most impactful and most right in front of us opportunities that we have to share the gospel, live the gospel, show the world around us the goodness of God. And when your marriage is struggling, or when you're just really negative about your kids, or there's just outbursts going on all the time and things aren't going well, obviously that can also be a testimony to God's goodness and God's grace. But it also is showing the world just another picture of brokenness. And when they can see us standing firm through that, coming together instead of pulling apart, when they can see us praying for one another and apologizing to one another and seeking to restore and to heal and to grow. I mean, how incredible of a witness they are seeing to the goodness of God. And let me highlight just a few other things as we try to remind ourselves and find encouragement from the reality that this hard work we are doing actually does matter. Because one of the other benefits that we will experience is that we are sanctified through our family relationships. When we are struggling and we are sacrificing, we are also growing in holiness. The fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, self-control, these things do not happen because we slept in late on Saturday and had a delicious latte with our friends. These things grow out of struggle and trial and perseverance. And it's not like we want every moment of our lives to be filled with that, but we do want every moment of our lives to be filled with that fruit, to be filled with love and joy and kindness. And that can really change our perspective when we're struggling with our husband or with our kids, or we're dealing with yet another sibling squabble, or we're all, nobody can find their shoes and we're running late and it's happening again and we're getting frustrated. We can stand firm on the fact that God is using that as an opportunity to grow us and sanctify us. And when you look at those sweet little children in front of you who are claiming they cannot find their shoes, even though they have 1,000,000 pairs and you could see 5 from where you're standing right now, when you look in their eyes, you might see that little glimpse of how God is using this moment to shape them, to grow them. That you have a chance to show them that love and joy and patience, that it is possible, it is worth it, it is a holy blessing from God because it does not come naturally or easy. All of this effort we are pouring into family life, we experience blessing from it. God is glorified and honored by it, and it equips our children and the next generation for the great potential that is ahead. Their souls are eternal too, and we have a huge influence on them. And so with all of this in mind, with the reality of the struggles we face and the firm foundation of how much family life matters, I think one of the best things we can do to actually enjoy it, to live well with our people, to love our people well, is to apply God's word to our marriages and to our motherhood, our parenting, every single day. The verse that always really jumps out to me here is Matthew 6, I think it's verse 33, where Jesus tells us that if we seek first God's kingdom and God's righteousness, all those other things, the things we worry about, stress about, we want, all of those things will be given to us as well. And that can really change our perspective. What are you seeking? What are you prioritizing? If it's happiness and an easy life, it's probably not going to be as meaningful as it could be. But if you're seeking God, if you're seeking to know Him and love Him and live out what He calls you to, it will change your family life. And you'll actually wind up enjoying it more. So my friend, I hope that some of these thoughts are helpful and encouraging. And if you want to go deeper in these things, join us over inside the Faith Fiver Club. That's our private Patreon community. At least right now, it's only $5 a month for a private podcast with some weekly short little encouragements and a monthly challenge, a different focus area month by month to deepen our family relationships together, to go deeper into different particular topics or areas. We are about to jump into March, where we will focus on preparing ourselves and our families for Easter with a daily Bible reading and family discussion question and prayer prompt. Lots of good stuff over there to encourage all of us with that kind of reality check that, yeah, this actually is hard. It is a struggle. You're not alone if you're struggling in it, but it is worth the struggle, and we can do it well and enjoy the great blessings from that. So, my friend, that is all I have for us today. Don't forget to head over to loveyourpeoplewell.com and grab your freebies and devotionals. There's links there as well if you would like to join us in the Patreon community and you can support this podcast, but also get some of those extra perks for yourself and your family. And if you haven't done it yet, subscribe to the show and leave a review. That is such an encouragement to me when I see those reviews pop up, and you can leave a comment about what you're liking or a topic you would love for me to cover or anything like that. That is such a blessing and encouragement to me and to this ministry, and it helps the show to grow with how the algorithms work, to leave that review over in Apple or Spotify. And yeah, I would love that. I would encourage that. I would be blessed by that. And whether you take the time to do that or not, I am glad that you are here, and I am excited to circle back with you in our next episode for more practical tips and more biblical encouragement to help all of us love our people well. So until then, my friends, hugs and blessings to you. I'll talk to you soon. I'm so glad you joined me today for this episode of the Love Your People Well podcast. If you found it helpful or encouraging, please leave a written review to encourage me, but also to help the show grow. You can even copy the link to this episode and text it to a friend. Don't forget to grab all your resources at loveyourpeoplewell.com and join us inside the Faith Fiver Club for extra perks every week.